and welcome to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'll be your host. Now, today we're going to go over what I watched in the month of October. So this is going to be a lot of horror stuff because, of course, this is Halloween season, so it makes enough sense. I did try following the October watch calendar for the horror queers, but I did fail them, unfortunately, and I did not finish the whole month, but I did get quite a bit in. And then I watched a couple of things as well near the end, and that's been kind of fun. So we'll see how that goes. But let's move into what I actually watched for the month. So the first day of the month, I watched a movie that starred Karen Black in it. For those who may not know, Karen Black, she actually shows up in another movie I watched later in the month, but a little different. But this one I decided to pull up on. And it was Mirror Mirror from 1990. Now, this movie is something where I guess the best way to describe it, so it's about this young lady named Megan who moves into town with her widowed mother, played by Karen Black. And she becomes the unpopular girl in school because, she is a goth girl. That wasn't popping back in the 90s. So she then starts to communicate with this mirror or whatever. And a bunch of things start to happen to the people who are making fun of her and all this. And so now it's a matter of is it I'm just reading this off of Letterboxd, but is the mirror a reflection of her own inner demons, or has she unwittingly opened the doorway of the damned? And for me, I didn't really like this movie a whole lot. I said I liked Karen Black's wigs, but not a ton else, honestly. I don't know what it was. I just didn't really care a ton for it, to be honest. Yvonne DiCarlo's in here real quick. So that's kind of interesting. And some of the other people, I think it's the girl who was in the Janie's Got a Gun video, I believe she's in this, playing not one of the mean girls, actually, one of the nice ones, and we see her at the end. Pretty much she's kind of the final girl in this, but I could care less about this movie. I didn't really like it a whole lot. It is female directed, and it was I think written by women too, which was really cool, but I just didn't really care a whole lot for it, to be honest, and I probably won't revisit it anytime soon. So the next thing I decided to watch was actually a Nightmare on Elm Street knockoff was the category and at hand, and I decided to pull up on a little film from 1988 called Deadly Dreams. And this is both kind of a Christmas movie, but also a knockoff of a Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not the best movie. I did end up giving it a 3. It was a fun enough time, though. And what I found out is that the lead of this movie is actually gay in real life, which I kind of thought was interesting. This is also directed by a woman. Pretty much the synopsis is Alex, who's our main character. He's caught in this web of distrust between his brother, whose brother's played by somebody I'll look in a minute, his best friend, a beautiful stranger, and the renewed dreams of the slaughter of his family. And Mitchell Anderson, who plays Alex, and he is actually... Well, yeah, he was in Jaws the Revenge, and he's in a couple other little movies, but he shows up in one of the These Walls Could Talk movies, which is kind of fun. But he also shows up for anybody who knew that, I think it's a web series or something, and it was the one that was made by the guy from Friday the 13th, Part 7, I believe. The one who, Lar Park Lincoln, rest in peace, the love interest of her, he's gay in real life, and he had a little web series. So Mitchell Anderson, who's in this movie, is actually in that little web series with this other guy, which is kind of fun, playing his I think it's supposed to be that Mitchell Anderson in the series dies, I guess, and now it's having to be this guy dealing with his death of his partner that he was with forever, and all this kind of stuff. Xander Berkeley, that's who it is. That's who the brother in this movie is. And I know him from, he's been in a couple of things, but he was in Kick-Ass, but he was in Gattaca and all these things, but he's Trevor from Candyman. That's what people know him from. And I was like, how do I know that name? And then I was like, oh yeah, okay. But yeah, I didn't dislike it. It's not a good movie. There's a bit of a twist, if you will, but it is an interesting enough movie, and I didn't like hate my watch of it. But yeah, I did have to find it on YouTube though. I don't know where else it's streaming necessarily, so there's that. But for the most part, I didn't dislike it. It was pretty interesting. So yeah, I'd pull up on it if you want to watch a Nightmare on Elm Street knockoff, I guess, or you want to watch this like little hot guy from the 80s, like just doing things. That's fun. The next thing I watched was for day 3. It was Hate's Hands, and you'll notice there's a bit of a pattern. But this normally just means like trauma of that like particular body part. So this is hand trauma. So I had to go look for that, and I decided to pull up because it is on Shudder right now. I think it might still be on there, but it is Hush from 2016 by Mike Flanagan. This is about a deaf woman who is played by Kate Siegel, who is the wife of one Mike Flanagan. She is stalked by a psychotic killer in her secluded ass home. I liked this. I gave it a 3.5 and a little heart. I thought it was really cool to like use just like a lot of, this is a person who is obviously hard of hearing. It was just cool to kind of, use the different sounds and the different ways that somebody who is hard of hearing or deaf would have to go through the world and use, I guess, which is really cool. And I thought it was a tense enough little thing to watch. And yeah, I'd never seen it before. So I ended up liking my watch of this film. So, and it's nice that it is on Shudder right now. It was on Netflix for a billion years, and then they took it off. And, I think you can find like a physical release of it, but, it's one of those things where it's like, oh shit, it like went off of streaming and now where the hell is it? But yeah, I do think it's worth a watch, in my opinion, if anything. And then because I am in fact part of the problem, I decided to pull up and watch VHS Halloween from 2025, because why the hell wouldn't I? I have watched all of the other VHS movies. I even covered one on this very show, so I do tend to like these movies for the most part. So this version of VHS though really did say fuck them kids. I can't help but respect that though, truly. But for those who may not know, this is a collection of like Halloween themed like videotapes that unleash a series of twisted, blood-soaked tales, turning trick-or-treat into a struggle for survival. For me, I think I ended up giving this a 3 and a heart, is what it says on Letterboxd. Yeah, I didn't like hate this one. I haven't really super disliked any of the ones that were from Shudder, like from pretty much 94 onward. Like I thought they were pretty decent, no matter what, for the most part. Maybe that's just because I'm biased, but like I don't know, I like it. And yeah, but I am definitely just it's something you're watching and you have just gotten used to kind of the format of it and just seeing what these different people are going to do, and it's just really cool to see that, I guess. But my little ranking, not that I'm going to go into every single story, but it's, I ended up doing, I think it was Fun Size, which is by Casper Kelly, who did, I believe it was Too Many Cooks, but he also worked on like some Adult Swim stuff. So that was kind of cool. So it was him. Who else was some of these directors? You had like, a couple different people. I don't remember. I could see them on Letterboxd, but I don't remember who did what. But Fun Size was my like favorite. I thought it was like silly and still kind of scary. Like I did like it. I also liked Home Haunt, which is the last little VHS. I kind of liked that one, and I don't know. It felt good, and I enjoyed it. The third one I liked was Coochie Coochie Coo, which is the first movie. It's the little thing that kind of it's not the wraparound story, but it's like the first story we're introduced to, and it has nothing to do with coochie if you think that's what it is, but no, it has more to do with like these two people like going off and well, they're trick-or-treating and then they fuck around and find out, I guess is the best way to describe it. Then we had Kid Print, which is an interesting one. I think that was Alex Ross Perry or something. That one's disturbing, and that one's like really screwed up. It gave me like a little bit of Poughkeepsie Tapes vibes a little bit, which is really fascinating. The other one I watched was Utsupra Sick Infra, which I think is As Above, So Below, from what I understand. It is, I believe, it was either like, it's not, I don't know if it's Mexican, but it was like Spanish, like from Spain, or it was some sort of Hispanic, like, country that they were doing. It was the one that was like literally foreign, which was fine, but I guess Giant Phantasma, which I didn't like the most, is kind of British, like, because they had British actors in it and it was supposed to be that way. So those were the two that were kind of like foreign, I guess. And I don't know what it was. I just didn't really care a whole lot for them, I guess. I don't know what it was, but that's where it kind of shook out for me. But these are also anthologies, so it's a matter of like, it's all gonna change depending on how I feel, I guess, really. But yeah, I didn't dislike this particular VHS, what's the word? Installment. I think I generally liked it. The next thing I watched was actually from 2009, and it is a sequel. It was for non-English found footage, so I could have done a couple of these, but I decided to pull up on Rec 2 because I have watched Rec before. So for those who may not know, this has to do with like this, I think it's in Spain or something like that, but there's this sort of like outbreak of these like rage zombie people, not 28 Days Later, but like it's just this infection in people, and it makes them just like fucking wild out or whatever. And it's in this like sealed off ass apartment, and it's like this SWAT team and like this medical officer, and then there's like a priest stood up in this bitch. It's like a whole thing, but yeah, I ended up watching it on Shudder. I was kind of going in and out of like how I was feeling about it. I gave it a 3, and I think if anything, maybe you'd have to like watch, I don't know, maybe you have to watch like Rec and then Rec 2 right after, or like simultaneous in a way, because I was kind of like, am I supposed to remember things from this? Like, am I supposed to, because it's been a minute since I've watched Rec, so I have seen it, but I didn't dislike it though, like, but I definitely was like, my mind wasn't completely all there, which again, only says so much for me, but like, it's, but I didn't dislike this movie or anything. I think it was obviously a pretty decent movie when you're talking about a found footage film, so I was kind of into that. The next thing I watched was a little film from 2001. This was for the category of Pam Grier, and I decided to pull up on Ghosts of Mars from 2001. This is, in fact, a John Carpenter movie, and this is about these people who go to Mars, I guess. In 2176, a Martian police unit is sent to pick up a highly dangerous criminal at a remote mining post. Upon arrival, the cops find the post deteriorated, deserted, and something far more dangerous than any criminal, the original inhabitants of Mars, who are hell-bent on getting their planet back. And, this movie definitely gets like a bad rap to it, and I'm not going to say it's like the most amazing film in the world, but I didn't dislike my watch of it, though. It definitely feels like, and you'll probably hear this like other times, and in just my show in general, it definitely feels like a, I don't know, it was like a, like if a sci-fi movie got a budget a little bit, like it definitely gives those vibes a little bit. And this is one of John Carpenter's movies that, he did, and then he didn't really do a whole lot after. I mean, it's like this and The Ward, you know what I mean? And those are kind of panned for different reasons. So I haven't really watched The Ward or anything, so I don't really know, but like, I'm pretty sure it kind of was. But this one definitely like, but I can understand why people like it though. And I think if anything, it's fun to watch like Natasha Henstridge, and like isn't Ice Cube in this? Like, if I'm not mistaken, I'm almost certain. Yeah, he is. He plays the literal Desolation Williams. Like Jason Statham's here, and like Clea Duvall's here. Like, it's a whole thing. So I don't know. I didn't like hate my watch of it though or anything. Like, yeah, but I understand why people don't like it though. I kind of get it, but I thought it was fine. The next thing I watched was for Mexican folk horror was the category in mind, and I decided to pull up on actually the recommendation from the Horror Queers. It was the Curse of the Crying Woman from 1963. This is kind of a retelling, but not really, of the La Llorona story. This is about a young woman who inherits a mansion only to discover that it's haunted by witches and evil spirits. And I will say, I ended up watching this, and I found it on YouTube, I think, because I found it on Canela. For anybody who knows, Canela is like where all the Spanish stuff is, right? And you can like stream it. So I was like, okay, I found it on there, but there was no like English subtitles. And so I guess wherever the hell the English subtitles were, there weren't nowhere to be found. So I watched it on YouTube, and I had to turn on the subtitles, like the auto-generated ones, and because there wasn't already a subtitle track. But it was one of those things where I was just like, I think I get what's going on, kind of, sort of, but like, again, I could only go so much. But it was just it was interesting though. Like some of the visuals in it were kind of cool. That's why I gave it a 3. If anything, I was just kind of like, okay, like this is interesting. It's like over dramatic, a little melodramatic, that kind of a thing. But I liked it personally. I wasn't too banged up about it, honestly. But I would have liked to watch it with like actual English subtitles. It would have been nice. But it is what it is, I guess. The next thing I watched was, kind of a banger, because I liked this one. This was for Letterboxd Top 50 Horror, which is pretty much, I guess, if you were to look at the top 50 horror movies that are on, that are highly rated, I guess, on Letterboxd. But I pulled up on The Night of the Hunter from 1955. This is a Charles Laughton movie. I think it's the only movie he ever directed. He was a actor, I believe, back in the day. But he wrote this, or no, he directed it. I think he wrote it too, actually. Maybe. Hold on. Did he? No, yeah, he did. He wrote and directed it. He wrote it with a James Agee, I guess, and this guy Davis Grubb, I guess, who's like the actual writer of it, or the original writer. But no, I like this quite a bit. I guess for anybody who may not know, this is about Depression era West Virginia. This serial killing priest, who is played by Robert Mitchum, where he's fucking scary. He is hunting these 2 children down who know where a stash of money is, and it's fucking creepy. Shelley Winters plays the mom of like these kids, John and Pearl, and girl, this movie is like crazy. Lillian Gish is in this movie. She plays like the kind of heroine at the end, which is really nice. And I really liked it personally. I said I just like a unlikely Christmas movie, because it does turn into a Christmas movie a little bit at the end. But yeah, no, I kind of liked this. Like I gave it a 4.5 and a little heart. I thought it was so good. I just loved how this fucking guy is scary as shit. Like, and he's not like he's not like a ooh boo gotcha monster. Like he's just a freaky dude. Like I don't ever want to see him out. Like I'm scared. I know he's dead, but like I don't care. Like he's scary, and it's just like he just makes you feel uncomfortable. And yeah, no, and it makes a whole lot of sense that like then you have things after this that are also not afraid to put some children in danger, because these kids are absolutely in danger in this movie. And so it's really interesting to kind of just like see that even in the 50s, like they were still doing this. I think this is also just like really did a lot for like people just being influenced by this movie, whether it's the look of it. I mean, for God's sakes, like I believe Spike Lee, because I did some deep diving after I watched the movie. Like Spike Lee literally put in Do the Right Thing, the one guy, I don't remember his name, I'm so bad, but the one guy who has love and hate, like, because this guy has love and hate tattooed on his like hands, and there's a nod to that in Do the Right Thing with one of the characters. And so it's that kind of a thing, and it's just like it's yeah, I could go on about The Night of the Hunter. It's so good. And I really do think if you at all are interested and you like old movies or any of that stuff, I actually just pulled up. I can't say I love the app because I think the app's kind of trash. However, classic movies and TV shows, which I pay like a little bit of money for, like for $4.99 or something, so I can get ads free. It has all the old movies on it. So I'm kind of like pulling up and then maybe I'll like unsubscribe at some point. But I will say I've been trying to go down my old movie path. So this was kind of a part of doing that. So it was nice. The next thing I watched was for it was for day 8, and it was Hate's Eyes, so eye trauma. So you could choose all sorts of things for this, but I decided to pull up on a film that I'd never seen before, but I've been familiar with, and it was Single White Female from 1982. So this is about a young lady, Allison Jones, played by Bridget Fonda, and she is recently split from her fiance, slash her boyfriend or whoever the fuck. Who was it? Steven Weber? Is it Steven Weber? It is Steven Weber, I think. Yeah, whoever the hell that is. So anyway, she gets a roommate played by Jennifer Jason Leigh named Hedra, or Hetty, I guess. Pretty much what happens is that Hetty goes fucking crazy and she is deciding that nobody else can have fucking Allie except for her. And it's like a whole thing. So I think for me, this movie in particular, I if anything, we're definitely following like Bridget Fonda and like Jennifer Jason Leigh. Steven Weber's kind of in here like throughout, but I don't know. And I like Graham. He's like the gay neighbor who kind of comes through in the end, which is nice. But for me, I gave this a 3, and to be honest, that's even giving it like a little bit. I would actually oscillate between like a 3 to 2.5 out of 5 on this. Because for me, like I don't know. I mean, it's cool to watch it like once to kind of get the idea of it or whatever. But I also just think like, not that I like Jennifer Jason Leigh as an actress. I mean, for God's sakes, I love like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but like I also just like, I don't dislike her in this like as an actress, but it's one of these things where I'm just like, I thought this story just wasn't maybe that good in my opinion, like or it was just something where it felt like, not that I hate, you know, a Lifetime movie by any means, but it just felt like, I don't know, this felt like a Lifetime movie that's wasn't very good in my opinion, but I gave it a 3. Like I said, I oscillate between that and a 2.5. I don't think I would rewatch it personally, and I also think you could probably just watch, plus also it's trying to be kind of like an erotic thriller a little bit, like you can tell, especially with them showing some of the boobies, and you see like Bridget Fonda's maybe boobies, might be her boobies, I don't know, but whatever. So you see stuff like that, but you're also just like, girl, like what are we doing? Like it doesn't feel like an erotic thriller. It's kind of supposed to be, but it doesn't feel that way. So I don't know. It just was something where I was kind of disappointed, or I just wasn't like thrilled with my watch on it. So you can honestly just watch Fatal Attraction. It's better. But that's just my opinion. Whatever. The next thing I watched was actually not at all it's not a horror movie or anything, but it was because it came out on YouTube. I decided to pull up on the newest special of Kathy Griffin, which is Kathy Griffin, My Life on the PTSD List, which is just pretty much I think it was Seattle that she shot it in or something. But yeah, she is doing her 21st comedy special, highlighting all the things, whether it be the Trump photo that she took, and a lot of different things, even going up to like her getting divorced and like having cancer and stuff like this. And I personally think, and I do follow her channel, and she has like the Kathy Griffin Talk Your Head Off like little weekly series she does, which is kind of fun. But she did upload this to YouTube because nobody would buy it from her, because people are like, oh no, Kathy Griffin, I guess like streamers and shit like that. But I am a little biased. I like Kathy Griffin. I don't care what anybody fucking says. Like, I've loved that woman since I was like a teenager. I'm sure she has her own issues and problems, obviously, just like anybody else. But I mean, I loved watching like My Life on the D-List. I've watched a bunch of her specials. It's like this for me, like Margaret Cho, a couple of these different like women comics where I'm just like, oh no, like I still enjoy them. And like, I think this one was really good. I gave it a 4 and a little heart. Again, maybe biased because I'm gay as shit, but I actually thought it was really cool and I liked it. I think she's also aware that like, just because of her like, kind of infamy or whatever you want to call it, or just whatever keeps people away or keeps like the traditional, people away. I do think it's really cool that she at least just like uploaded this shit free to YouTube. And I think if anything, like you're able to, I don't know, make it a little easier for people to access your content. Especially since she owns all of her content now. Like she was able to buy back her whole catalog pretty much. And now she owns all of it. So I don't know. It's really interesting. And I don't know if you're a fan of Kathy Griffin or a gay person who likes her or whatever the fuck, I don't know. I would pull up on it. And if you haven't already, because she's a very fascinating lady in my opinion. And I thought this stand-up special was really good. So there's that. So what else did I watch? What some other stuff? The next thing I watched was for, I believe the category was a Friday the 13th ripoff. And so I decided to watch a little film from 1990 and it is called Deadly Manor. And it was on Tubi, I think. This doesn't really have anybody in it that I know of, like that I could think of. But I will say it's about a group of teenagers who take refuge in an old deserted manor, like a little mansion, and they start to turn up dead and they realize that they're not alone in the mansion. And that's kind of all I'll say. There's like a bitch in like a white mask or whatever and some shit gone down. And I think it was partly like kind of done with like somewhere like Spain in here or something like that. Like, because I think the director is also like Hispanic. What else did he do? Didn't he do another movie? He did, God, what else did he do? Shit. Did he write another like weird movie? No, maybe not. Oh no, he did Edge of the Axe. That's what it was. He had done this movie from the 80s. And people know about like kind of sort of like Edge of the Axe. I feel like it's one of those things that people watch. And so this is like the movie he did after it pretty much. But yeah, I gave it a 3 and a little heart. I kind of liked it. It was like a Nightmare on Elm. It was like a Friday the 13th ripoff. There's plenty of those to watch. So I really had my pick, but I didn't like dislike this one, but I could oscillate between like a 2.5 and a 3 on this. Like, this isn't the best like Friday the 13th ripoff, but I mean, it was interesting to watch if anything and just kind of see what it was. But I also kind of came into this knowing like, it's probably not gonna be that good, but like I'll give it a shot. So, I think if anything, if you're interested, maybe it's a good sleepy slasher. Maybe that's what it could be. I still need to make an episode for that. So we'll get to that at some point. The next thing I watched was for the category of Udo Kier. So I could have watched a couple different things that have Udo Kier in it that are horror. But I decided to pull up on a film from the 70s, 1970 in particular, and it's called Mark of the Devil. And this is a co-production of Michael Armstrong and Adrian Hoven. And this is pretty much like a little period piece. It's in 1700s Austria. There's this witch hunter's apprentice who has these doubts about the righteousness of witch hunting when he sees just the brutality, the injustice, the falsehood, the torture, and just arbitrary killing that goes along with this job. And yeah, I think for me, like this movie is really, because yeah, Udo Kier pretty much plays like the guy that we're talking about, and it's just a really interesting little film. It's really beautifully shot, but it is very violent, and if anything, it's just something where it can definitely make I gave it a 3.5. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but like, I don't know. Like, there was something about it where I thought, like, yes, it is very violent and it is very just like tough to watch at times. But I also think, like, you know, even up to today, like, we can still see like how witch hunting techniques have been used throughout history, and especially for marginalized groups. And I think that we're especially seeing that now. And so it's really interesting to kind of like see something from, which is ultimately, this is like a German ass movie. Like, it really is. It has Udo Kier in it, for God's sakes. But, you know, it's interesting enough to like just watch this. And I don't know, it was a certain vibe that I kind of enjoyed, and, you know, I kind of banged with in a way. Again, 70s movies are kind of a mixed bag for me, but I tend to like some of the 70s movies, honestly. I'm not mad at them. The next thing I watched was actually a documentary. It was for Satanic Panic, so I could watch a whole lot of different things. But I decided to watch a documentary called Satan Wants You. And this is about this is the story about how the Satanic Panic, like, thing happened in the 80s. This is ignited by a book called Michelle Remembers, which is a memoir from the psychiatrist and his patient. And the book heavily relied on like recovered memory theory to uncover like this kind of abduction that happened to Michelle by baby stealing Satanists. And you know, if you couldn't already maybe tell, you could find that that was a whole lot of hogwash, and really probably none of this abduction stuff happened. And like, this is really just the fact that like this could just be something where people really were, I don't know, they were really like buying into this idea of Satanic Panic. It's like this and the MacArthur like daycare like whole molestation thing that was happening back then too. And it's just like, it's the fact of like, people will believe whatever they want to believe. And again, even throughout our history, but especially now, like, we're seeing that also today too. Like, we're seeing that people will just say whatever and they'll believe whatever. And it's just, you know, some people don't want to critically think, or when you do critically think, you're just kind of told to, oh, well, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy, blah, 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 whatever. I don't know. So it's just kind of crazy when you can look at something like this. This is on Canopy, so you can watch it with your library card. But I just thought this was an interesting little documentary. I gave it a 3. It's a documentary, so, you know, but it was really interesting. Actually, the host of You Are Good podcast, Sarah Marshall, she's actually in this and she talks about it. I'm assuming she talks about the book on her show, I guess, because she is in the documentary. So, and just kind of going through and like kind of delving into this book, and also just kind of the craziness that comes along with it, because Michelle, fun fact, also married the psychiatrist who was literally married at the time already. So that kind of tells you what you need to, I feel like, but whatever. So there's that. The next thing I watched was for the category of hates kids. So this could be just like trauma of kids, or like, obviously, like, kids are endangered, they're dying or whatever. So I decided, because it is currently streaming, I wanted to watch Bring Her Back finally. So this is the Philippa brothers sophomore their sophomore feature. Of course, Talk to Me was the first, and this is the second. And yeah, this is about a brother and sister, one of whom is visually impaired pretty much, and their father dies. They're introduced to this foster mother played by Sally Hawkins, and then they have this new foster sibling, only to really find out that there's a whole lot of shit going on at Sally Hawkins' house, and it ain't gonna be fun for nobody. And I think for me, like, this movie was I gave it a 3.5. You know, it is one of these movies where it definitely has a different vibe, I guess, than Talk to Me. Talk to Me also, you know, there are some similarities from here to here, but I think the vibes are a little different. And I also just think like this one is very like very dark, but I did end up generally liking it, though. I do think, like, you know, it's just like this weird possession story kind of, but like also just like, oh my god, Sally Hawkins just being like, you know, this really unsettling woman, and just all the things that she's willing to do to ultimately try to bring her daughter back is kind of the big thing. You know, so I don't know. This is not for the maybe faint of heart, perhaps. You know, watch Talk to Me, see how you think about it, and then watch this if you want to. But yeah, it's definitely a rough watch for me for some people. But because I'm mostly dead inside anyway, I don't think it really mattered. But yeah, I ended up watching that, and I generally, you know, I did like my watch of it. I'm glad that I finally got around to it because I didn't see it in theaters. So the next thing I watched was actually for an upcoming episode that you'll be hearing later this week. It is 2002's Swim Fan. So this is about this young man named Ben, and he has, like, you know, he is a swimmer, he has these friends, he has a girlfriend, but then he kind of gets with a young lady by the name of, what's her name? Madison. And he has pool sex with her, and then she becomes a little, you know, that kind of thing. And so yeah, this movie, you will hear what I think about it, I'm sure. I gave it a 2.5. I could give it a little heart, though. This is definitely like the teen thriller of it all. Like, this is very much like, you know, it is Fatal Attraction for teens. And so, you know, you kind of have to, you know, take that for what it is. But yeah, I think this just shows that having sex in a pool is probably just more trouble than it's actually worth. And also, I did say I love gratuitous Dan Hedaya cinema, because he is in this film. He plays the swim coach, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, I think for me, like, I probably won't watch this anytime soon again, but I think if anything, it's interesting little relic of its time, if anything. And I thought that was kind of interesting, but I didn't really like the ending of this movie, to be honest. Like, some of it was sort of interesting in some ways, but ultimately I thought it felt pretty short, honestly. But yeah, so there's what I think about that. The next thing I watched was actually for another episode as well that I'm going to be doing. I decided I wanted to watch Piranha from 1978 because I am covering the remake. So you'll see that come through in a bit. But yeah, this is a Joe Dante movie. This is about these flesh-eating piranhas who accidentally get released in this summer resort's like rivers, and pretty much they are going to beat everyone's ass. So yeah, I ended up giving this a 3 and a little heart. It's a 70s movie. It's the, you know, and I think if anything, like it is an interesting little film. It has like these little, like, you know, piranha that are like, you know, just doing the most. It's definitely a ripoff of Jaws, perhaps. If that was a category that I could have watched it for that. But, you know, it is kind of the better of the Jaws, ripoffs a little bit. Even I think Steven Spielberg said that. So, you know, that's kind of interesting to see. But yeah, I didn't like hate my watch of this, but I wasn't like super interested in it. But it's a fun little like movie to kind of watch and just be like, wow, this is what we were doing back in the day, back in the 70s. Like, you know, if anything, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, so the next thing I watched was actually for the category of Danny Trejo, okay? And I decided, because I already pulled up on like From Dusk Till Dawn and stuff, I decided I wanted to pull up on Anaconda, because I had not seen that in a while. Or really, I don't think I'd ever watched it really before. And I saw like bits and pieces of it. But like, yeah, this, for those who may not know, this is about a National Geographic film crew who has, I think it's Eric Stoltz, Schultz, who's like the leader of it, and then you also have like Jennifer Lopez there, and like Ice Cube, and all these different people who are taken hostage by this crazy person played by John Voight, very apropos, who take them along on this quest to try and capture the world's largest and deadliest snake, known as Anaconda. Yeah, I actually really liked this movie. I gave it a 3.5 on a little heart. You know, it is kind of a bad movie. Like, it really is like a sci-fi movie that got a budget a little bit, which these have. There is, I think, an Anaconda movie that also actually is a sci-fi movie. So that's kind of fun. But like this one, I don't know. I kind of liked it, and I think it is like stupid, but I enjoy the stupidity of it, and I was kind of into it. So I really didn't dislike it, to be honest. And I checked out that little trailer that they're doing. It's Paul Rudd and Jack Black, and girl, why would we have that? Like, I don't, just the vibe. I was kind of like, girl, we're not doing this. Like, I'm not watching that. I'm so sorry. We're not doing it. So there's that. The next thing I watched was for, I believe the category was Letterboxd Bottom 500. This was a movie from 2024. It's called Prey. Now, it's not that Prey. It's not the one that is the Predator prequel. That's really good, apparently. I actually didn't watch that one, though. But this is about a young couple who is played by Ryan Phillippe and Mina Suvari. They are compelled to leave their Christian missionary station in the Kalahari Desert after being threatened by death, or with death, by an extremist militant gang. And after crashing their aircraft, they must battle man and beast, lions, for their life. And, you know, this was done by, I believe it was an African person, a white African person, which is interesting. I looked that up and I was like, oh yeah, wait a minute. Okay. So that was interesting, but I was just like, okay. And so, like, I don't know anything about Africa, and I don't know anything about like the people who come there on a missionary and like what people think of them and like any of that shit. You know, but I don't even really know what the hell this movie was hardly even about. Like, I mean, it really is kind of bad. I gave it a 1. Like, I don't know. Like, I just said, you know, Mina has to eat just like everyone else, you know, and because of course, like, I like Amina Suvari, but like, you know, I don't know, girl. It just was not like, it wasn't the vibe. It just wasn't the vibe. I just wasn't, I can't say I was that interested at some point. So that's just my opinion. But it was just one of these things where I was like, yeah, no, this movie's bad. Oh, Emile Hirsch is in it too. That's kind of interesting. And I was just really bored at some point. I don't know. And that's the worst thing you could really do, is that like, if you bore me, I guess, like that's the death knell, I feel like, with my, you know, however many downloads I got. You know, I'm just so important, but, you know, whatever. But it's one of these things where I was kind of bored of it. So there's that. That's what I thought. The next thing I watched was for the category of Airbnb/retreat horror. So you could watch like other things like Barbarian and like other, you know, stuff like that, I guess. But I decided to watch a film from 2020. It was on Peacock, and it's from David Coep, who brought us Stir of Echoes. It's called You Should Have Left. And it's about this couple played by Kevin Bacon, who was in Stir of Echoes, and also Amanda Seyfried. And so they're trying to, like, these two are trying to repair their relationship. Kevin Bacon has a daughter from his previous partner who died. And yeah, this couple, they book a vacation in the countryside of Ireland or something, I think, for them and their daughter. And what starts out as this like perfect retreat begins to fall apart as the guy loses his grip on reality and the sinister force tries to tear them apart. And again, I think what it was is that for me, I really liked Stir of Echoes. Please go listen to my episode on it, because I fucking love that movie. And I loved it for a minute. So, but this movie is really boring, and I only gave it a 2.5 because Yeah, at some point I just wasn't that interested. I just wasn't feeling these characters a whole lot. And I was just kind of like, what are we doing? Like, what's happening here? You know, and it didn't grip me. It didn't do anything for me. And that's why I was just kind of like, we're not, okay, I'm just going to power through this, I guess. But I just was like, you got these two really good actors too, like Amanda Seyfried and Kevin Bacon are great. But like, why are we doing this to them? Like, what's happening here? So there was that. The next thing I watched was for Blair Witch ripoff. So you can watch a bunch of found footage movies for this, but I decided I wanted to pull up, for whatever reason, on this Blair Rabbit Project, which I think was on Found TV. Shout out to Found. But like, this was by, I don't even know what this was. Like, it was, you know, I don't even know. Like, to be honest, I just thought it was really bad, and like I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's a parody of the Blair Witch Project, so of course I was like, okay, you're gonna go into that, and like, you know, maybe you have to go into it thinking that. And I just was like, at some point, like, this is so stupid and I do not like this. And why did I even waste my time with this? I probably could have just watched like the Blair Witch from 2016 and I could just call it a day. But no, I didn't do that. It's just like, you know, anyway. I just couldn't really, I don't know, I just couldn't deal with it at some point. But yeah, that was just, that was my thought about that. Then I had, oh no, I still had like one more thing. So then I watched, after watching that terrible, terrible movie, I then pulled up on, I believe it was A Bay of Blood, for Fulci or Bava. This is a Bava movie, Mario Bava. This is an Italian movie. This is about a pretty much group of people who go to, I mean, what is it really about? Like, it's a group of young people who end up like seaside at this place, and they get like, you know, killed one by one. But then there's also just like some drama going on because, you know, it's kind of giallo, like, you know, that kind of thing. And so like, that's pretty much what we're talking about when it comes to A Bay of Blood. It very much kind of then is this sort of early like slasher, I guess. This is like an Italian one. The official synopsis is an elderly heiress is killed by her husband who wants control of their fortune, and what ensues is an all-out murder spree as relatives and friends attempt to reduce the inheritance playing field, complicated by some teenagers who decide to camp out in a dilapidated building on the estate. So yeah, I ended up giving this a 3.5 on a little heart. Like, I think I was kind of in the right mood for it, and I was like interested. I do know that I think Rocco has a different, my buddy Rocco Thompson, you know, he had a little bit of a different view of this because he also watched this month, and I don't think he liked it a whole lot. So that's kind of fun, but I didn't dislike it. But I mean, I'm not going to go out and watch this anytime soon again, probably. But, you know, I think it's worth at least a watch to kind of get the idea of like, okay, this influenced a lot of other movies, or this was kind of like in that giallo kind of part, you know, and you could see kind of what the rest would come from, you know what I mean? But other than that, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't that into it at some point. But I thought it was cool. Like, I didn't like super dislike my watch of it, but you know, it was just that really. The next thing I watched was for an upcoming episode I'm going to be doing, and I believe this was probably a first watch of mine in general, because I don't think I really watched this as a kid. I pulled up on It Takes Two from 1995. This is about these two identical 9-year-olds. What is it? Amanda and what the fuck's her name? Francine or some shit. Alyssa, that's her name. These two identical 9-year-olds from very different backgrounds, one who's orphaned, the other one who's wealthy. They meet at this summer camp that just so happens to be owned by the wealthy one's father, and they decide to switch places, and they're playing matchmaker between Alyssa's dad, played by Steve Guttenberg, and this kind social worker who cares for Amanda, Diane, played by is it Diane? It is Diane, yeah. which is so funny because she wasn't Diane in Cheers, but like obviously like Diane is Shelley Long in Cheers, and that was the whole thing. But anyway, yeah, and then Kirstie Alley is in this too. Yeah, I gave this a little 3.5 and a little heart. I did kind of like it, you know. I think that, you know, this is a movie that so many people like really love, and they just, it like lives in their bones, some of these people, and just they love it a lot. And for me, I don't really have that like experience with this movie. Like it doesn't hit me like that, but I do understand that this is like a perfectly fun movie. This is the movie where the Olsen twins were coming off of being literal stars from like Full House, and so, you know, they already had their little empire of like direct-to-video stuff, but this was like them being in a movie, and then they would kind of still go into that, do their little like dual star home entertainment stuff, but yeah, this is a fun little movie, and I don't dislike it or anything. And we'll probably talk about it in our episode, but like it's so crazy. And I know that like Rotten Tomatoes is like obviously an aggregate, but like the fact that this has like an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes is just like, Jesus, like nobody was fucking with the Olsen twins back in the day. And it's just funny because I'm just like, I'm also somebody who's not necessarily like the Mary-Kate and Ashley fan necessarily, but I will also say that like in this sense too, it's like, Jesus, it wasn't that bad of a movie. Goddamn, there's way worse that you could have been watching also that came out this year. So yeah, that's just crazy to me. The next thing I watched after that was for Surreal Fever Dream. That was the category I was trying to do. I had skipped a couple of the other ones, unfortunately, and then that's when I started falling off the wagon of this watch calendar. But I decided I wanted to pull back up and rewatch Suspiria from 1977. It's Dario Argento. This is about an American newcomer who comes to this like little dance academy up in Germany, and you know, some shit's going down at the school, and there's some murders, and it's velvet walls and maggots and Mrs. Tanner and dogs ripping out throats and witches bitch, like, and it's a whole thing. It's so good. I love this movie. I gave it a 5 and a heart. I fucking love this movie. I don't know why I don't own it. Like, I really probably should get it somewhere. Anybody want to send it to me is also appreciated. I'll give you my information if you want to send it to me. Just DM me or like email me. Yeah, I love this fucking movie. It's so good. And yeah, like also, I don't really think I liked that remake a whole lot. I watched that remake, and you know what? Not for me. I don't think it was for me. So that's my big thing on Suspiria, I guess. Oh God. The next thing I watched was for a Michael Ironside was the category. So I could have watched Hello, Mary Lou Prom Night 2, which I didn't do, which is unfortunate. But instead, I pulled up on a David Cronenberg movie, also Canadian, and I watched Scanners, finally. I tried watching this a little bit ago, and I kind of like fell off of it. But I pulled up back up in this one and I watched it. This is about a man who has extraordinary and frighteningly destructive telepathic abilities. And after he is nabbed by agents from this rogue corporation, he discovers he's far from the only person who possesses these strange powers. So these other scanners have their minds set in world domination while others are trying to stop them. And Michael Ironside plays the baddie in this movie. And this turns crazy at some point, because some of it was like, oh well, I'm a little bored by some of it, even with like the head explosion in the beginning of the movie, which everyone knows this movie for. But I was just kind of like, okay, like, or is this even like, what are we doing? And then when it gets to like Michael Ironside and the guy fighting, and they're like using their fucking powers against each other, it's fucking crazy. But yeah, I ended up liking it for that reason at least. And yeah, this movie was fucking wild. And it's also it's an early David Cronenberg, and for me, I do not watch all of his films. Like, I'm definitely still very new in my David Cronenbergness, but I'm willing to pull up. So if anything, I just need to watch more of his stuff, I guess, in my opinion. The next thing I watched was for, I believe it was Offensive / Bad Taste, But I decided to pull up on the film, which I started watching. Don't judge me. Necromantic from 1988. This is a German movie, and it's pretty much what you would think it is. It's about this street sweeper guy who's a necrophiliac, and he brings home a corpse for him and his girlfriend to enjoy sexually. And he's dismayed, though, that his girlfriend actually prefers the corpse over him, and that's a whole thing. And this movie is fucking weird, and it's crazy, and I gave it a 3. And it's interesting. I heard Necromantic 2's maybe a little better. It might be a little more of an interesting story, perhaps. But, if you want offensive or bad taste, you could watch this, for sure. It makes a lot of sense. And, throw any kind of John Waters movie of any of his early movies, you could probably watch them too. But I wanted to watch this, and I pulled up on it finally. So that was interesting. But yeah. The next thing I watched was another teen horror movie. This was for a Hitchcock ripoff, and I decided, because it was on Paramount, I wanted to watch Disturbia from not 1990 something. It was from 2007. This is a movie. It has Shia LaBeouf in it. It has some other people. Who the hell else does it have? Carrie-Anne Moss. It has that nice Asian man from Friday the 13th, the remake, and also Sarah Romer, who I recently found out is the wife of Chad Michael Murray. So good for her. And Viola Davis is in this too, which is kind of fun. But yeah, this is pretty much Rear Window from Alfred Hitchcock, but with teenagers. This guy named Kale, he's named after a little vegetable. His daddy died, and then he punches his teacher in the face. They get put on house arrest by Officer Viola Davis, and so he can't leave his motherfucking house for a while. But then he thinks that his weird neighbor, or his neighbor, I guess, kind of weird neighbor, he thinks he's a murderer, and then it's up to him and this girl to get down to the bottom of the shit. And I gave it a 3. It wasn't the worst thing I could watch. I oscillate between that and a 2.5, to be honest. This movie is worth a watch just to see it, and just to kind of be oh, okay, this is right before Shia LaBeouf became hugely famous, because this is right before Transformers. So it's kind of interesting to kind of look at that and be oh, okay. Obviously Shia LaBeouf's kind of a piece of shit nowadays, but if anything, I think this is at least kind of worth just a look view, just to see what you think about it. And there's that. And then, as I already stated, I am doing the remake of Piranha, so I pulled up on Piranha 3D from 2010. And this is an Alexandre Aja movie. I gave it a 3.5 and a little heart. I have seen this before, and I didn't love it as much previously, but I really do like this movie quite a bit. This is about this town in Arizona with Lake Victoria. They have all these people for spring break who come to their town. You have Officer Elizabeth Shue and Officer Ving Rhames out on the beat, bitch, and they are doing the things. And you just got the piranhas coming and beating everyone's ass. It's kind of a good little time. I didn't dislike this movie a whole lot. It's kind of just as dumb as a lot of these other movies. We really do say in our episode that this is a sci-fi movie with a budget, and it's very true. But to be honest, I kind of like this movie just like how I like Jason X a little bit. The movie is dumb and it's really silly, but to be honest, I'm kind of into that. I'm not totally offended by that personally. This was a little bit more interesting, and I think I'd watch this, any other fucking time. So yeah, I watched it on Canopy actually. So that was kind of fun. So yeah, I ended up watching that. I finally pulled up, I think it was for foot trauma, Hates Feet. That was the category. And I have been meaning to watch this, and it was on HBO. And so I finally decided to watch it. I watched Misery from 1990. So for you, maybe who don't know, this is about a novelist played by James Caan, Paul Sheldon. He gets in a car accident in the snowstorm. He's saved by this lady played by Kathy Bates in an Oscar award-winning performance. performance. This is Annie Wilkes. She's a nurse, I guess. She's also his biggest fan, which is a whole thing. And well, shit goes left, and it's so good. I really liked this movie. I gave it a 4 and a little heart. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was such an interesting film, and I think it was just something that, you know, it really shows like this sort of, you know, life of this person who's in a creative field. He's a writer, but he's disillusioned with writing. And then you have this like person of Annie Wilkes who is so interestingly complex and just has a lot going on up in her head, and there's a lot of shit going on there, but it's really interesting to see all of what's going on here. And I just personally thought it was a really cool little movie personally. And I just thought it was, yeah, it was super interesting. And it was just something where I kind of was, you know, I was interested in it. And I liked this, and I thought it was just something definitely worth a watch in my opinion. So there was that. And then the next things I watched, which I'm sort of surprised, I think I watched them on the same day, which was the day before Halloween, which was, I guess, would be a Thursday. But I decided I was going to watch, because it's finally streaming, Weapons from 2025, Zach Cregger's film after Barbarian. This is about a whole class of children from the 3rd grade, I think, who all go missing. Same exact night, same exact time. Community is left questioning about what's going on and what the hell's happening. You then have a lot of shit going on. You then have this sort of multi-perspective, kind of like, POV sort of thing going on. And I ended up liking this movie. I gave it a 3 out of 5. And I still stand with that. I think even on a rewatch, maybe I might like it more, but I do generally like this. It was an interesting enough film. And yeah, I think there's a lot to kind of dig into with it. Personally, I know not everyone liked this movie necessarily, which is understandable, but I personally didn't super dislike it. It was an interesting movie to watch, and I had already knew what the plot was. I'd spoiled myself on it. Oops. But you know, that's fine, because I wanted my own experience on it and just to see what it was like. And I did end up liking it, but like, it was definitely something where I feel like I'd have to rewatch it again to kind of see if I really do like it. But I do generally like the movie though. Second to last movie I watched was actually I will be doing an episode at some point on this very podcast about this movie, but I decided to pull up on Gypsy 83 from 2001. This is a Todd Stevens movie. It's a gay movie, kinda. Todd Stevens did The Edge of 17, not the one with Haley Steinfeld, but the one about the gay guy. And yeah, this is about these two people, one played by Sarah Rue. Her name is Gypsy. I know that's an outdated term. I get it, but that is her name. And so it's about her and her friend Clive, who is played by Kat Turton, I believe. They go out to they decide they're going to go from Ohio to New York to go visit this Night of 1,000 Stevies at this club. Along the way, they kind of have to accept these painful pasts that they have. They have to discover their strengths and learn self-acceptance. It's like a whole thing. We'll talk all about it in our episode that I'm going to be doing on this. But yeah, I gave this a 4 and a little heart. I really like this movie. I liked it when I first saw it, and now that I've rewatched it, it was on Criterion Channel actually. But you can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on, I think, Tubi. But I did really like this movie personally. I think there is something just so cool about it. And yeah, it's an early 2000s movie. It has its little drawbacks, but overall, I really did like this. And it's such an interesting, like, queer movie. It's like a goth movie, kinda. It's like all these things. It's a music movie because, you know, this girl is kind of a musician. Like, her dad's a musician and she is kind of a budding musician in a way. So that's interesting. And yeah, I just, we'll talk more about it in our episode, but it was a good time for me personally. So yeah, I didn't hate it. And then the next thing and the last thing I watched for the month on Halloween was I decided to use my new little subscription to classic shows and movies. And I pulled up on The Seventh Victim from 1943. This is a movie by Mark Robeson, who did The Valley of the Dolls. And this is about, it's a Val Lewton movie kind of too. This is about a young lady named Mary Gibson, played by Oscar Award winner Kim Hunter. But this is like her first movie, pretty much. She discovers that her older sister, Jacqueline, is disappeared. She leaves her boarding school, goes up to New York City to track down her sister, but she gets deeper into this mystery and all this other stuff's happening. I ended up watching this and it had like Spanish subtitles in it, which was really interesting. But so I was still following along what they were saying, obviously, but it was just interesting that I was just like, why does this have like Spanish subtitles? Like, what the hell? But whatever. But what I would say though is that I gave this a 3. I did generally like this, actually. I thought it was a really cool little movie, and just like how this could maybe like influence some other movies as well. I just thought that was kind of cool because there's like a Satanist plot in it, kind of, sort of, and all this other shit. And I don't know, it was really interesting. It like kind of has a dour ending, really, but like I don't know, I kind of enjoyed it a little bit. And it's like 70-something minute movie, like nothing too crazy, but yeah, I think this is worth a watch if you're an old movie girly like myself and you kind of want to get into like watching old movies and you want to like pull up on something that's a little spoopy, I guess. Like that's kind of a, worthwhile little option you can do. Because I am trying to see what other like little horror movies I can watch from the 30s and 40s and stuff like that. So just to kind of see, I still need to watch Rebecca. I do need to watch that one, which I think I can find on that little channel. So maybe I'll pull up on that at some point. But yeah, that's what I've been watching. That's what I watched for the month of October. So, bunch of horror things, some stuff that's not horror, but, just trying to do things for the upcoming episodes and stuff like that. So that's all fine and well. But yeah, that's what I ended up watching. For the most part, yeah, like you'll see I already released the list for what I'm going to be doing this month. So you can go see what you think about what I'm going to be covering and whatever the hell, I guess. This is the month of turkeys. It's Thanksgiving month. It actually comes at the end of the month, which is really interesting. But yeah, so this will be I don't even know, I don't have really like a plan or anything with what I'm going to be watching. I know some people like to do Noir November, I don't know. Noir November, I guess. So film noirs, and watching them this month. So I know Canopies has that as like their little like monthly category that they do. And then they'll do like Christmas stuff next month, I guess. But yeah, I think if anything, like, we'll see what the hell I watch for the rest of the month. But if you would like to, please give me recommendations or tell me what to watch. Like, I would love to hear what you have to say. Of course, you can follow the show on social media, on Instagram and Blue Sky. They'll all be in the show notes. You can email me at cultcinemacircle@gmail.com. Follow me on your podcatcher of choice. Give me 5 stars, 1 to 2 sentence review, all the things and all that good stuff. And yeah, tell me what you've been watching. What did you watch in the month of October? Like, do you have any recommendations for me? Do you have things that you just tell me, girl, stay away? Like all the stuff, like, do you have anything that you're kind of excited to watch this month? Like, tell me all about it, I guess. And yeah, but with all that being said, everyone, thank you so much for taking the time to listen today, and I will catch you all next month on the next one. Take care. Bye.